Are you ready to talk about the best Venom movie this year? Coincidentally, it's also the worst Venom movie this year.
It's the only Venom movie this year.
Well, that makes it easy to calculate. Let's get into this. Welcome to the Cinefanatics. My name's Robert Adams.
I am Chris Adams.
And we've got a spoiler-free review for Venom: The Last Dance. Before we get started with this, let us know your thoughts, feelings, and opinions. How do you feel of the Venom franchise? How do you feel of the Venom franchise so far? Do you like part 1, part 2? Let us know down below in the comments. While you're down there, make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Getting into this movie, I want to say overall for me, I'm a decent fan of the first two. I like the fact what they did with the first movie without introducing Venom with Spider-Man, like the comic books and cartoon and everything. I like kind of what they did with Carnage. There's some things I would like to change up. Make sure to go watch that review because I know that's on the channel also. But
I was going to say, don't we have both of them on the channel?
We do have both of them that you are free to go watch if you would like to get our immediate opinions of those movies right after we first saw those movies. But this one, I feel like this one just severely tanked for me. There's pacing issues, there's editing issues, there's storyline issues. It just didn't work.
Yeah, I've been known to say for the Venom movies, specifically after the first one, that it did a great job of harkening back to the early 2000s model of comic book movie. The pre-MCU era where we have a heightened realization of how good comic book movies could be in the tightness of their storytelling, the characterization, all of that. And the first Venom movie kind of felt like we were going back to the era before that. Which, could be a good thing, bad thing. We just had Deadpool and Wolverine, which kind of did a nice little homage to that era as well. But I don't necessarily believe that that's a great thing in my opinion. And the thing with all the Venom movies, second one and now this one, is there's some great consistency in the tone for all three. For me, I like this one just about as much as I like the other two. That being said, I would say that this one's actually probably my favorite of the three. But as I said in the out-of-theater reaction, that's not saying much. There is a consistent tone throughout all of them. There is a lot of good, fun, back and forth banter between Eddie and Venom. It's kind of what you come to these movies for, kind of enjoy these movies for.
It's like a buddy comedy.
Yeah, and you get a lot of that still in this one. I think my biggest thing that I'm going to say right off the bat for anybody who wants to know, if you like the first two, you aside, I think you'll like the third one also. For the most part. Keep in mind, very generalized statement here. You as a big comic book fan might find some nitpicky things to go in on. But for the most people, the most general audiences out there, if you like the first two, you're probably going to like the third one.
Yeah, I agree with that. As the comic book fan, Venom is one of my favorite comic book characters. And that's why, I was very hesitant about what they were going to do by making these Venom solo movies anyways, without it piggybacking off of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And again, I think they did a decent job, especially that first Venom movie. I accept that. And I'm a diehard Venom and Spider-Man purist. I think it was good. And the stuff that they did that tied to the comic books in this movie, it's really hard to say without spoiling. Most of y'all probably could already guess from the trailer or whatever Fortnite skins get dropped or, but a lot of that stuff that's from the comics that's in this movie, it didn't do as well. Yeah. And that's even something as simple as some of the characters that are from the comics that are in this movie, just the look and sound of those characters. They didn't put any effort and any caring into making this like the comic book, like we've been seeing in the MCU. You see that love and that attention to detail that Kevin Feige is essentially putting his stamp on every single one of the MCU movies. Whether it's an MCU movie you like or didn't like, you can still see Kevin Feige's love for the source material behind those. There was no love for the Venom source material in this movie. Outside, again, of the banter that we've already gotten from Venom and Eddie, but we've already gotten 2 movies of them, so it's easy to keep that consistent because they already know what the game is, how to play it. It's everything else just, so for the comic book fan in me, I don't like that they didn't care. The movie fan in me, aside from the comic book stuff, again, the storyline, they've got too much going on. There's different stories. Almost each of the main characters in this movie have some kind of a story, something that they're pursuing, and a lot of it does not really get summed up or even really matter by the end of this movie. And that's the part of it that I don't like.
Yeah, so in comparison, like what you were saying with the care and attention in there, this feels like a situation where it's rush, 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 get the product out. We need to get the product out for the people. And that never, I don't think there's a good example of that ever boding well for a movie, whether it's franchise or otherwise. I just think in general, that's the wrong way to approach especially movies that have a dedicated fan base built in because they are based off of some sort of IP that people have already loved for years and years and years, decades and decades. This is a situation where they were trying to do too much and did not give enough time to let the things that they were doing breathe. Like you were saying, there's a lot of characters that each have their own individual story, but each of those stories was, all right, did you catch it? Cool, moving on to the next one. And a lot of the pacing and editing there in between just felt so off. I found myself registering what was going on in a scene while the next scene was already finishing. I was thinking about one scene, and the next scene after it was already ending, and so I wasn't even catching up with the next scene. That's how off it felt at times. There was just a large disconnect in a lot of what was going on. I would say in the first half. Yes. There came a point, I believe, leading into the second half where there is an immediate slowdown and an introspective kind of moment with Eddie Brock, like in a van hanging out with some folks, and there was a nice like little slow take a breath and kind of do some back and forth with him and Venom, but a little bit more seriously, with some great music backing it, by the way. And then we go into the third act, where I think the movie picks up a whole lot more as far as the action, as far as the intrigue and what's going on. I was a lot more locked in for the final act of the movie than I was for anything that came before. I don't even know that I could tell you exactly what happened before that final act at this point. And we just got out of the movie.
I will point out the like second half or the final act of this movie is a lot better than the beginning half or the beginning 2/3 of it, but in comparison it's only better because you're comparing it to the first half, the first two. In a bottle, it doesn't really it's fine for this movie, but if we're comparing this to how like movies are typically supposed to go, it's still not that good. It's only good just because it's better than the two acts before.
Yeah, there was a lot of action there that I was actually having some fun with. Mm-hmm. But again, that's the extent of the fun that I can have with the Venom movies, where I'm not as big a fan of all three. So one thing I will say, you can see what's going on at the end of this movie. It's true.
Like, for the most part, I was able to follow, like, who all's doing what characters are here. I mean, that's calling back to, like, the first movie where it was really hard to see, like, that fight between Venom and Riot. Who's Venom and who's Riot and what body parts are going where.
Because they both look almost exactly the same. They're both the same coloration. They both have almost nearly the same design.
Yeah, so the only other thing I can think of is, again, just going back onto what the story is. Some of the things, I don't like how this movie began, because it is supposed to be going from like the end of the last movie, and it gets kind of weirdly confusing because the last movie did deal with like some of the multiverse stuff coming off of like, say, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So we've got that leading into this, and then we get thrown into learning about the MacGuffin of this movie, the Codex. And I'm like, oh, yay, here's the 50 billionth movie that's based off of a comic book or a cartoon of some sort that has them looking for the Codex.
The Matrix of Leadership.
The Codex is not here. Where has he hidden it?
I don't know.
Where is the codex?
Like, just some weird stuff in there. I think if you're paying attention, it is kind of clear how this movie kind of differentiates itself from, like, say, Venom's appearance in No Way Home and all of that. But at the same time, it just also kind of feels like, hey, it's Sony once again trying to force their thing in the middle of the MCU. Whereas it feels like Kevin Feige's looking at Amy Pascal going, yeah, he can sit over there. Just let him sit over there. He can't sit over here with these guys, but he can just he has his moment in here, but that's kind of still what it feels like. You get a lot of that from Venom 2, you get a little bit of that from No Way Home, and they kind of just dance around with it a little bit here.
And like talking about, like, say, the ending without spoiling it, it does kind of feel like the way that this movie ends is, it's like, we know that Tom Hardy has said that he's done playing this Venom character. As far as these movies, I don't know what's going to happen, like with the MCU and Secret Wars, all that, if Sony's going to have any hand in that.
Except
who
for
knows?
him also saying that he would love to fight Spider-Man at some point, but who knows if that's going to happen too.
Yeah. This movie the ending of this movie, I feel like, is kind of like an homage to everything that came before it, but also at the same time, it kind of felt like the ending to, like, a Fast and Furious movie. Just, the movie's over.
I wouldn't go that far.
The story's over. We're out looking over all the water and the land, and everything is done and relaxed. And you got, like, that kind of music. It just felt like a Fast and Furious ending.
I cracked a tear at Paul Walker. I didn't crack a tear at Venom: The Last Dance.
Yeah, well, obviously, beside that.
Yeah.
But it had that kind of feeling for me, especially with the music and the choice of
just
shots.
a saying goodbye to the franchise, basically.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It almost felt like it was doing the same kind of, like, homage that they did in Deadpool and Wolverine to saying goodbye to, like, the Fox movies.
But
like
you haven't
Daredevil,
earned
X-Men.
it. You haven't earned it because all you've had is 2 Venom movies before this.
And that was exactly my thought. I was like, this is like trying to do way too much of a lofty ending without actually earning it. I don't care. It's
Listen,
like,
I'm sure some of you out there have really loved and connected to these movies. They'd exist. Those people do exist. Somebody out there, somebody clicked on this video, probably really loves the Venom movies. And they're probably sad right now hearing us talk about the third one. But this is why I said, if you love the first 2, you'll probably love the third one. Have fun. But the franchise hasn't earned, I think, for most people, this feeling of completion of, oh, we've done the thing. We've had a good time. We've had some laughs along the way. Let's say good night now to this sweet child of ours and wish it farewell as it floats off to Valhalla.
yeah.
There's a lot of metaphors I was trying to scramble there. I think it came together. I think you get the point. But that point is, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all my thoughts. You got anything else for this?
Tom Hardy, does what Tom Hardy does in these movies. This is, again, why I say if you like the first 2, he's still, I think, enjoying himself. I think he is having fun with these movies. Mm-hmm. I don't get a sense of dread and of, okay, well, I got to do another one of these from him and his performance at all. I think it's still a lot of the same. A lot of these other side characters, as weird as it is to include some of their stories here and there, especially a really strange sequence where you find this one woman's backstory and the death of her brother or something that just feels completely out of place to the rest of the movie. A lot of these other side characters, and I don't really want to dive into the specifics of who they all are, but a lot of them are fun.
I will say Rhys Ifans and his family, they're fun.
I
don't know why they're there, but they are fun.
Yeah, we'll put it this way. They're a more fleshed out version of that Russian family from the Joss Whedon Justice League.
Yeah.
The Joss Whedon version of the Justice League. It's kind of like, why are they here kind of thing.
But yeah, great characters. I mean, they're fun to watch and listen to, but...
Yeah, I think overall the movie, I think it does what it's trying to do. But the thing is that what it's trying to do does not necessarily connect with a lot of us.
Yeah.
It was fine in much the same way that the other 2 Venom movies were fine. I'm going to be flat out honest. I'm probably never going to watch any of them ever again.
I don't know how, like, I've watched the other 2 multiple times. I don't know how eager I'm going to be to go back and watch this. I might give it another shot because apparently after we left the theater, we were told that one of the characters was like missing an arm the
Didn't
entire
even
time.
realize that.
Didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
So I guess I got to go back and look for this missing arm.
If we can leave this review off with one positive, I will say throughout all 3 movies, Homeboy's design is fantastic, aside from the fact that he's missing the white spider connection to Spider-Man on his chest. Other than that, Venom, in his depiction, his visual depiction, has been nailed perfectly throughout this entire franchise. That's my redeeming positive of this whole thing.
Anyways, that is going to be our review. Now, I haven't done any like kind of ranking on...
No, I think we're good with do we recommend it or not recommend it? And honestly, I think for me, I would say, like I said multiple times in this review, if you've enjoyed the first 2, I recommend it because I think you might also enjoy this one as well.
It's fun. It's good to see on a big screen. There's scenes shot with an IMAX camera that are pretty to look at. But
if you're like us and the first 2 are okay, they're fine, and you don't need or want to spend the money to go see a movie, maybe wait for it to come on home viewing.
If you're a comic book fan, you're going to go see it. If you're not a huge fan of Venom, pass.
If you don't need to go to the theater for any reason this weekend,
just pass.
You can watch it at home later, and it's going to do you just fine there.
Yeah. I mean, we're in spooky movie season, so go catch up on some spooky movies instead. That would be my recommendation as the person who loves the spooky movies on this channel. Anyways, that is going to be our review. Again, what did you think of it? What do you think of the first 2? Let us know down below in the comments. Should we talk about any of the spoilers? Should we make a spoiler video? Y'all seem to be liking those lately, so keep your eyes peeled. We may crank that out, possibly, if we got some time. But let us know your thoughts on that down below in the comments as well. While you're down there, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Follow us on social media. We are at The Cinefanatics on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can follow me personally at RCA Reacts on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Letterboxd. Also, youtube.com/@RCA Reacts.
And you can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd.
Anyways, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you for watching us. Very much appreciate each and every single one of y'all watching our videos. We hope to see you again on the next one. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Eddie.